Brady here, y'all, and today we're going to be talking about something peachy, red, and not yellow. What we're going to be talking about today is Sadako and the Thousand Paper Cranes by Eleanor Coeur. Well, first off, let me just talk about the cover art. It is ridiculously beautiful. Just a nice tone of red with the white fades on, a beautiful paper crane, and very cool letter font. So make sure you go check out that book, and let's get into the details of this amazing book. In the book Sadako and the Thousand Paper Cranes, a children's non-fiction, so it is real, the story is shortly after World War II, and it is in Japan, just outside of where the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. Make sure you remember this. This has a lot to do with the plot of the story, so keep that in mind. Anyways, so some of the characters are Sadako, the main character, her friend Shizuko, and Kenji, Sadako's long-lost friend. Sadako is a very charming and bright young girl who loves to run. Shizuko is her best friend who brings her the idea about the paper cranes to her when she's in the hospital. Then you have Kenji, Sadako's friend. She only knew when she was very young. Kenji was a very bright character and was the same in the hospital. Gives Sadako great company throughout her stay in the hospital. Well, that is for at least a few days. They knew each other. And see, in the novel, Sadako faces a problem, a very extreme problem that will lead to something incredible. Anyways, the problem she runs to is she's voted to run in the relay race at her school, field day, which was a very big deal for her. And at the practices, after she would run, she began feeling dizzy. And she didn't want to tell anyone for some time, but until one day when she passed out at school during recess, and her parents had to rush over to the school, pick her up, and then later she just get diagnosed with leukemia, which is also referred to as the atom bomb disease in the book. So that's what that is if you have a question about that, if you were to read the book. But anyways, Sadako wakes up one morning happy as ever because it is the huge carnival day, the day her and her friend Shizuko wait for all year. She's very excited. She hurries through her morning routine, meets up with her best friend Shizuko, and they go off to the carnival. Once they arrive to the carnival, they enjoy everything they wanted, from cakes to scenes to the lantern lighting at night. Then after the carnival's ending celebration, Sadako goes home, and little does she know, she has a huge day ahead of her tomorrow. Sadako arrives at school extremely happy since it is the field day nominations. She was hoping that she'd be chosen to do the relay race, of course, since she loved running. Sure enough, she was nominated, so right when school got out, she ran home to tell her parents the good news, and her mom was very proud of her daughter. Sadako begins training, and one day notices after training that she was kind of dizzy, but did not think too much about it and decided not to tell anyone. As she trains more and more, she begins to feel more and more dizzy each time she gets dizzy, but still thinks it's best not to tell anyone. Race day's finally here. Sadako is very nervous. Her mom just tells her to forget about everything but the race. Sadako steps onto the track. Her nerves get worse and worse, but she remembers what her mom told her. After Sadako is done racing, she remembered what her mom told her and accomplished her goal of getting first. She is very pleased overall, and so is her mom. They're exceptionally happy, and a few days after the race, Sadako is at school and she's outside playing during recess with a bunch of friends, and suddenly she passes out. With no one knowing why everyone begins to worry, her parents rush to the school and take her to the hospital immediately. As Sadako is waiting on her parents to finish talking to the doctors, and then all of a sudden she hears her mom gasp and yell the word leukemia. Next, everything begins to unfold, and later that night, her parents tell her the news. She has been diagnosed with leukemia. Sadako lays in bed very depressed and hardly gets any sleep that night until the next day when her friend Shizuko shows up with an idea that could save her life. Sadako could make 1,000 paper cranes, and if she made them before she died, she'd be able to make any wish to the gods, and the wish would be granted true. So Sadako began to get on the paper crane trail, and see, I would tell you more, but it's your job to go read the book and find out what happens to see if she accomplishes the goal or not. But anyways, overall, if I had to give this book some stars, it'd definitely be 5. But this book was good, well-rounded book. I really like how at the beginning the tone is happy, high, everyone's excited. Then it kind of goes to a more sappy, down, depressing tone at the end of the book. Also, it's pretty easy read, so if you don't like really hard, difficult reads where you have to think a lot, then this is definitely the book for you. But I mean, if you look at a more detailed perspective, you definitely got this book on the easy side, considering what happened a few years ago prior to this when we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. So see, some parts were predictable and others weren't. It really just depended on the part of the book you were reading. See, one connection I made while I was reading was with World War II when we bombed Hiroshima, because this is real after effect of that bombing. So I can actually physically compare Sadako's story to what happened to the people during that time, since there's not really anybody alive to tell me that today. But anyways, the point of view was in third person, very exceptional, and the style was phenomenal. I'd recommend this book to anyone. It was really good, like I said earlier. If I had to give an opinion on the ending of the book, I would sum it up in one word, and that'd be perfect. The tones just blend perfectly. The ending sets it all. It's just amazing. So if you ever get the chance to read this book, definitely do. And on the bright side of things, it's an easy read. So no worries on having to struggle to finish it. And you will be able to get into it fairly easily. So I would definitely recommend this book. If I'd rate it from 1 to 5 stars, I'd definitely give it a 5, since there's nothing on the scale higher, because if there was, I'd be giving it a 10 or a 15, but I don't have 5 hands to show you that. Anyways, the reason I'd give it 5 stars is because overall it is a pretty simple read, but the author keeps you from wanting to put the book down. Another reason I'd recommend this book is because it isn't the longest either, so you don't have to spend tons of time wasting all precious time reading this book, even though it is a very great book. And so if you're looking for a good, easy read, might get on your emotional side, most likely will. And as Mrs. Sasaki always says, Sadako could always run before she could walk. So make sure you go get this book, check it out. Once again, it is a pinky peach color. Let's get the camera to focus on it so you can see. Yes. And it is by Eleanor Coare. It's a very great book, very beautiful cover art. Now there's another cover which has a picture of Sadako on there. You can also try to find that one, but this is the one I read. But anyways, hope you enjoy. Check out this book and read it. Thanks.